Never judge a book by its cover. You'd think I would have learned by now that things might not be what they seem. Especially after Licorice Recoil caught me so off guard with how good it was. Shout out to that show, by the way. Wait, it's not even 30 seconds in and I'm getting off track. Ranking of Kings. One that was nominated for awards for both parts of that first season. This one is a doozy of an anime that I think has earned its place high in my list, though probably not breaking into my top 10. Still, to say that this show is a beautiful piece of art is an understatement. This show is a great piece of storytelling that's both beautifully animated and highly stylized. It's also deceptively brutal to watch, considering the very adorable art style, and the story contains some very sad and rather gritty backstories for characters you meet along the way. On the surface, it looks like an anime for little kids, but this show isn't afraid to show bloodshed, death, or imply that someone was tortured by having their hands cut off and face skinned off. Naturally, these darker tones in the series got me hooked, and that fan-flippin-tastic combat animation was beautiful. There's so much charm to this series and so much to love about it that I can't help but say you gotta watch this one. Spoiler alert, if you haven't watched it yet, we're getting into the synopsis now. So we're gonna be talking about things that could ruin the show for you. So starting right from the top, Bojji is the crown prince of the kingdom of Boss. His father, for whom the kingdom is named, is widely regarded as one of the most powerful men in the world. Being a giant, Boss's fearsome strength and immense stature mean very few are willing to actually oppose him. Unfortunately, and in stark contrast to his father, Bojji inherited none of that power. Bojji was effectively born cursed in a way when he was born. Even as the son of two giants, he would never get any stronger than an infant and was doomed to his minuscule stature. And as if that wasn't enough, he ended up deaf. Basically, Bojji was the last person you would want on your side in a fight. From there, you're introduced to part of the world's mechanic for which the story is named, the Ranking of Kings. Basically, it's a tier list of all the most powerful rulers in the world, and the one at the top gets to select an item out of a vault full of incredible treasures. Back to the story, not many people have faith in Bojji as a ruler, especially when he's compared to the likes of his younger half-brother Daida. Daida is pretty much everything a ruler would need to be, but he's jealous that Bojji will inherit the throne. Thus, that creates a rift between the two brothers, and they don't exactly have the greatest relationship at the beginning of the story. So, some things happen. Bojji develops a reputation for running around in nothing but his underwear. Then there's the duel between him and Daida, and in the end, Bojji ends up getting overturned in favor of making Daida the next king when Boss dies. This betrayal comes at the hands of just about everyone Bojji thought he could trust, and it reaches its peak with Daida ordering Bojji's sword instructor to eliminate his older brother. And this decision sends things spiraling out of control. Basically, Daida is being manipulated by a sorceress named Miranjo. She almost tricks him into becoming a vessel for Boss's reincarnation, but he tries to rebel, which results in him getting knocked out and taken prisoner. Thus, Daida himself is betrayed and is forced to become the vessel for his father's reincarnated soul. Now things are really starting to spiral as Boss and Miranjo then start to plan the assassination of Daida's mother, Queen Hilling. The plot turns into a real mess of alignments here, and we could just skip over to Bojji, who finds himself in the underworld after being betrayed by his former swordmaster. Together with Kage, the shadow creature that ended up becoming Bojji's friend after trying to mug him at the beginning of the series, they seek out one of the princes of the underworld for guidance on how to make Bojji stronger. Despa, the man in question, then uses his analytical abilities to teach Bojji a strategy by which the boy can actually fight. It turns out to be a rather unconventional method, considering Bojji's only incredible skill is his insane ability to dodge that renders just about every attack against him useless. But utilizing Bojji's natural skill for evasion and wicked high speed stat, Despa manages to make Bojji the weakest looking character in the show, one of the most capable fighters around. But while this is happening, things back in the Kingdom of Boss aren't going too well. It turns out Miranjo has unleashed some dangerous creatures, as well as people, on the palace grounds, and a full-on battle is starting to ensue. Bojji returns from the underworld with reinforcements just in the nick of time, but it turns out that there's one guy who's just a hard counter for Bojji, and things continue to go south until King Boss in Daida's body finally puts an end to it all. After realizing that Boss now occupies Daida's body, Bojji engages his father in a final climactic battle, and utilizing his new fighting style, he wins. Daida is thus returned to his body, and things begin to settle down. And with this new turn of events, and after a long time imprisoned in a void, Daida decides to cede the throne back to his brother to try and make amends. I'll stop there with my good anime explained poorly recap. There's actually a lot of interlocking details, but if I tried to explain them all, things would take a lot of words to explain. Besides, I need time to talk about what I love about this show. First of all, the art style and character design is great. It's very simple, and it's very minimalistic in its art, but that doesn't hurt the show. It actually lends to the charm. Paired with great animation, it's spectacular to watch unfold on the screen. The highly unique and stylized art makes this show set apart for visuals alone, and it helps give this show a fluffy feel to watch it as it hits you with the wave of feels it has in store for you. Oh yeah, this one can be a real tearjerker if you let it. There's a lot of sad things that happen. Dorsha's betrayal of Boji, for one, but Miranjo's childhood, the source of Boji's curse, and the sad reality of Oken's immortality that turned him into the monster he inevitably became are all really great pieces of writing that play into the overall sad but redemptive tones of the show. Honestly, it all plays out very well. The one thing it does well is getting you to sympathize with characters. Even the ones you hate early on, like Daida, end up getting their moment to redeem themselves. It's hard to say that any one character is truly evil, rather than they're just people who have made mistakes. It gives a complex view of how a real person could become twisted and evil, or at the very least, how they could resort to evil actions. Duty, trauma, desire. These things lead various people to make decisions they would later come to regret deeply, and in most of those cases, they were given a chance to redeem themselves. I do love me a good, touching redemption story. But for all this show does well, there was a point where I started to lose interest in it for a bit. The issue became that Ranking of Kings was released in 2 cours. The first 11 episodes released about half a year before the second set, or something close to that. I binged it all at once, but I know it got nominated for Anime Awards 2 years in a row. Either way, somewhere at the beginning of the second cour, the animation stepped away from the highly refined combat scenes of the first 11 episodes and took a downgrade. Suddenly, I was watching the same sort of still frame animation that pissed me off about Fairy Tail, where you had 2 enemies charging at each other without any motion, and then you hardly see a hit land. And considering that most of the second half of this show is fighting, this made it a bit regrettable that they made that choice. But it was still a good show. I didn't find myself skipping it. However, this made me feel like there was an extended section of the story that didn't appeal much to me. You can say what you want, but if you're gonna tell me that I'm spoiled by the last 4 years of anime, well, I'll have you know I enjoyed the animation of both Hunter x Hunter, which I'm still in the middle of, and Cowboy Bebop. It's not like I'm spoiled by something like Ufotable or Mappa's animation style. It's just that I got a bit of a feeling like the show fell into a doldrum after it transitioned into Cour 2. But hey, the writing still held up, and the grand finale of Boss vs. Boji was both visually and narratively stunning. I mean, what a fantastically perfect way to end this first season. But hey, the greatness doesn't stop there. Let's not forget those killer intros that this show has. Intro 1 is a song titled Boy by Fuga God. It's pretty good, but the one that I personally really love is called Naked Hero by Vaundy. Yeah, you know, Vaundy, the guy responsible for Chainsaw Blood, the best outro from Chainsaw Man. Both intros for Ranking of Kings are killer, but if you gotta pick one, go with Naked Hero. It hits so much better. This show deserves the love and nominations it got. It's a flippin' blast. If the unique look doesn't make you overlook it, you'll find one hell of an anime gem in this. The story is fantastic, the animation is beautiful, the characters are well-rounded, and the sound of it all, including intros, is just so good. I'm giving it a solid 8.8 out of 10. Like I said, I enjoyed this show. It was something that was really fun and that I feel like recommending to those looking for something good to watch. However, I can't deny that it feels a little dragged out in the middle, and the ending seemed a tad bit forced in some ways, particularly when it comes to Miranjo and some of the other bad actors in the series seemingly getting away with some of the things they had done. As things stand, this show is a good one, with enough to offer to make it well worth your time. It lands within that watch again range for me, making it one of the better animes to come out of last year. But that's just what I think of it. Feel free to like, comment, and subscribe to your heart's content. I hope you have a great day and a wonderful rest of your week.